Hello there.
Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, what have we here?
Jedi, we've been expecting you.
Knew I could count on you.
Hello.
Welcome to the rebellion.
What fun!
What is up, everyone? Hybrid here, and today we are taking a look at the brand new Star Wars The Black Series Mandalorian and Grogu. This is a deluxe build-up pack type of figure set. We've seen a couple Mando build-up packs before. They always feature Mando and Grogu and a plethora of accessories. This seems to cover a lot of scenes in the movie that I'm very excited to talk about. We've seen some of these accessories throughout the teasers, and this just really is a loaded-up figure. I know a lot of people are complaining about the price, about Mando having to be a deluxe, but I think there's a lot of new going on in this figure, which I will, as always, point out in the review. But I gotta say, just initially looking at him in the box, this whole extra, when they make a deluxe, they widen the box for the extra parts. This whole side of the box is full of stuff. I'll give it credit. It appears initially to be worth the extra $5. Is it in person, though? We'll go through the review, and I will give you my, as always, genuine thoughts at the end of it. But for right now, let's go ahead and get into it. And here's our deluxe Mando and Grogu in the box. As always, we'll take a super quick look. This is your standard deluxe wide box, and you have a Black Series logo above a big window showing Mando, Grogu, and their numerous accessories off nicely. The Mandalorian and Grogu in that dark purpley blue they chose, number 1 in the line. Again, Mando and Grogu up the side. Warning 4+ Hasbro. This side of the box features some really cool artwork of Mando holding that little gladiator sword. He's got their names at the bottom. This side features your wraparound window, wraparound stripe, and a Black Series logo. Around back features a zoom in on that side art, the Black Series logo again. A bio about the movie in like 5 different languages. Pause and read whichever language best applies to you. Number 1 in the lineup, once again, a bunch of legal stuff and Disney logos, barcode, and more legal hoops. And then up top, you have a hanger tab. Very standard Hasbro action figure box stuff. Not a lot to talk about. So let's get this guy out of the box and take a closer look. Here's Mando out of the packaging with all of his accessories. And I gotta say, there's a lot going on here. So some of my initial thoughts before we dive too deep. There's been a lot of discussion with people about, I don't need another Mando. This is just a repack. And I would like to alert you, there's a lot of new stuff going on here, stuff that even I didn't realize until I started messing with the figure some. So I think I will point it out as we go along, but there's a lot more new going on, a lot of improvement. I think this potentially is the best Mando we have in the line so far. So that said, let's dive right in. So as far as the wearables, Mando comes with his standard jetpack. This is the jetpack he's had for the entire series so far. Apparently he went back after season 3 and got it because he was wearing that stormtrooper, the Imperial Armored Commando jetpack all the way in the end credits, or not the end credits, but the final scene of season 3 where he's back on Navarro. So apparently he went back for his OG one, which is cool. And yeah, it's a very familiar mold, and it connects same way we've seen before with the 3 pegs, 1 round and 2 rectangular. We will pop those onto Mando. He typically would push his soft goods cloak cape over to the side and peg it in. I like to get the 3 pegs most of the way in and then tuck some of that material back just under the edge just to make it a little bit more manageable. It's a very nice soft material. It lays nicely. And then while we have Mando standing there, this Grogu is very interesting. It's very pose specific. So while he does have the ability to move his hands and his arms and head, this is really the pose you want him in. You'll note that hand is in a grabbing pose. Grogu is meant to cling on to the side of the jetpack, and he holds on to that post, which has always been there. It's always been there on the jetpack. I don't recall if it has been pronounced like this on other Mando figures, but they've definitely made it an easy thing for him to grab onto. And you see Grogu wraps his legs kind of around the jetpack and puts his foot on Mando's back like so. But apparently this is how he's hanging out. He doesn't have a bag this go around. He is just riding on while Mando's jetting around. That's a really, really cool accessory as well. Probably how they're going to be hung up on my shelf, to be honest. But he's a little bit easy to knock off if you just, it's not a very permanent pose. Part of me wishes there was maybe like a peg or something. The vintage collection one has a peg on it, I'm pretty sure. But just something to secure him a little bit. Because like this Grogu's never going to go on the shelf unless he's on Mando. But it's cool that they included that feature. And then out of the box, Mando comes with this right hand, which is in like a trigger finger pose, and that's very good for all of the blasters and such. But these hands are the new ball jointed wrist system, which is really nice to see. And he comes with this swappable right hand, which, come on, man, throwing my parts all over the place. It's a tight fit, this new hand. Snap, like that. If you have them using that, he can give you a thumbs up. No, this hand is, as you see, still meant for an accessory, but it's much more closed, and it is meant for his boot knife, which is a nice silver paint on the blade and a gunmetal plastic for the handle. But this accessory has been given us with other Mandos before, and his hand is so wide open for all the guns that he can't actually hold it, so he does have a knife-holding hand. I don't think I'm really going to pose him using that. I think he is ultimately going to keep that in his boot, where he does have storage for it. But it is cool that they gave us the alternate hand so that we can actually use it before, because that's always been the turnoff for me, is I can't even use the darn thing. So, you know, it always just gets put in storage or in the boot. So it's just nice that they were thinking of that this go around. Now, for other accessories, Mando comes with his pistol. Again, he went back to Mandalore after the ending of Season 3, I guess, and got it back. It is in a gunmetal plastic with some nice brown paint on the grip. Looks very nice. This very likely could be a reused sculpt. I don't know this accessory well enough to be, like, off memory, like it's the same as everyone or not. But, like, I know the blaster, and it looks like the blaster. Now, something new here is this whole strap and belt system here, even though it's very similar. It no longer features the strap that would hold the blaster down over top. That used to be a very standard accessory, but he no longer has that. And now for some very new accessories, he comes with this gladiator sword. We see him use this in some of the trailer scenes on what we're assuming is Nal Hutta. But this is very nice. It's painted very bright silver. It's got dark on the grip area. It's very clean. I imagine being a sword, it's not going to be clean for long. It's a little bit rubbery, you know, and like generally a sword accessory would be a little bit rubbery, but it's not super rubbery to the point where it's like too soft. It is a nice firm rubbery plastic. So you're not going to impale a child with it, but you might, or they won't impale each other during play, but it doesn't feel too safe or like too like overly safe. So that's nice. I like that. It works out a little bit better for the shelf. Sometimes with soft rubbery swords, you know, man, you put it in storage and you pull it out of the parts bin and it's like gone bent on you. So yeah, it looks really, really good. It's almost like a machete length, but obviously he uses it for a little bit. And then the coolest, in my opinion, well, I don't know, the sword might be the coolest, but Mando comes with this new rifle, and it's kind of like a hunting rifle looking type of gun. There are some Boba Fett influences on it, as you can tell from that like stock and the handle with like the ring around it there. That's very like ESB Boba Fett, and Book of Boba Fett, I guess he has the same gun too. But then after that stock, it does kind of turn into like a hunting rifle looking gun, but it does have a little magazine on the side because it's Star Wars and you have to have a magazine. Something cool about this is you see, just like his old disintegration rifle, he takes the scope off of it to use as just like a telescope, you know, so he'll pop that off and give it to Grogu or just look down it to sight in a base from across. So it does unclip from there. It is a little bit easy to knock loose, I will be honest. I've knocked it loose a couple of times while doing different poses so far. So ultimately, I might end up gluing that down on, but for now, it's going to remain removable. But yeah, you can carry it like most other blasters. Taking a look at the figure now, this guy looks excellent. I have to say, this is probably the best silver paint we've had on a Mando figure yet. It is very chrome. It is very light reflecting. It's not quite like that Hot Toys chrome Mando, but it's very, very just light reflecting. This is probably as good as we're going to get on a mass-produced Hasbro figure, and I'm completely okay with this. This is like it. If you wanted to call this definitive, I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right. And I really liked the finish on the Glavis Ringworld one, but this one is a little bit brighter all the same. There is a no head underneath. There's an implication of a chin under there, but it is all molded together. It's not glued together. Working down He, of course, features like the shoulder pads are on the ring around the pin, which is just how they do shoulder pads these days. It's a good improvement to older versions of Mando. As I mentioned, the shoulder strap harness system is new. It features all the same, like, he has a holster. He just doesn't have the strap over it anymore. He still has his grenades over here. He still has the hook for the Darksaber that doesn't even exist anymore. But when you go around back and, like, you pull the jetpack off, they have deleted the hole in the back for the disintegration rifle that he used to have that would then, like, align with the hole in the back of the figure, which has also been gone. Now he's strictly a jetpack kind of guy. But a little bit of damage on the ass plate there. So someone tried to shoot Mando in the ass once. That's canonical. That's cool. But spinning him back around, they've just really done some new work here that I'm really, really satisfied with. The ball-jointed hands are sick. Something I noticed, as I've been saying, he went back to Mandalore and got his jetpack back. He went back to Mandalore and he got his pistol back. But when he was on Mandalore, he must have left the whistling birds behind, because he has a blank spot on the gauntlet now where it looks like something would, like, attach down onto it maybe, or slide onto it, whatever the system for mounting is. But he doesn't seem to have the whistling birds anymore, which sucks, because it was always kind of cool seeing him do that. When I get my Hot Toys display set up, I intend to have him, like, whistling birding, next to Boba Fett, shooting some knee rockets, like, do some Book of Boba Fett street battle type display. And, so it's kind of sad he doesn't have those anymore. He got everything else back. Can't have him change his gear too much, though. But he has the mythosaur popping out on that shoulder pad, still looking oh so nice. Otherwise, the rest of the armor is very familiar, with the silver on the chest plate and the diamond in the middle. The helmet looks oh so nice. Very nice looking helmet there. And working their way down, they've painted some rivets and all these cylinders on the belt. I'm sure they didn't do anything on the back. Nope, they did not. That's pretty standard. Under the cape, under the jetpack, kind of like, who cares, Another interesting thing is, for some reason, they've made new thighs on him, and they took away the thigh swivel, which for me, I'm in a very small minority that likes that. I will say, for what it's worth, it was always behind armor pieces, and so therefore you didn't really see it, so it's not as offensive as on some figures, whereas like in a lot of these troopers that we're going to go through, they don't have thigh swivel either, but it's more obvious because they're wearing like pants. But on him, they didn't have to do that, but they went through and they modernized the leg. He does have a bit more of a rotation on the ball joint at the hip over prior ones, but I've always said, rotate it at the knee, you're going to be all right. But working down from there, he has the cylinders on the boot there. He's just got everything going on. I mean, he looks really, really good. I have nothing to criticize on this. It's, it's a very familiar figure. Oops, as I bumped the tripod. It's a very familiar figure, but it's still a very good-looking figure as well. One that I think will definitely upgrade whichever version of Mando you have on the shelf already. To run through some articulation, again, a lot of familiar, but a lot of new as well. He does feature that double ball neck system, which allows him to look that far up, that far down. Get some side to side and some pivot in there. Get some nice attitude from him. He can come up to a T-pose with ease, with some deep butterfly joint action in there. 360-degree rotation at the shoulder that the shoulder pad can rotate around with as well without getting you into too much trouble. Single jointed elbows go about to 90, maybe a touch past, and swivel. There's a gauntlet swivel, and then, as mentioned, ball jointed hands, so any direction on the hands, which is really cool. He features a mid-torso abdomen crunch, which is kind of buried. This like gray pad under his belt is molded to the belt, so that sticks underneath of the armor like so, and sometimes you might have to like shift this to straighten stuff up, but you can crunch that far forward, which isn't a whole ton, but it's enough. You can go that far back, which, yeah, there you go. Mando's got that arch going on. He can rotate here, and he can pivot here, and then he can do a pretty wide splits, actually. Pretty nice splits action there. He can kick straight forward just about. Not much back. Again, no thigh swivel, but there is a pivot on that ball joint. However, you turn it too far out, and you do kind of gap in there and see the pin. So it's not something I really intend to use so much. But it'll like get out of the way for purposes of articulation still, which is nice. Like, articulating the leg forward. The knees go to 90 just about, and then swivel at the knee so you can still get some type of rotation on the leg. And then there's a boot cut on this boot. Is it on this boot as well? Yeah, he has boot cut on both boots, although this one doesn't turn so much. I think it's because the knife is tucked in there. And then the feet can point pretty far down, pretty far forward, and there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing you to get him into some decently wide stances with both feet flat on the ground. So yeah, all in all, he does look really, really nice. So here's Mando holding that rifle I was telling you about, the hunting rifle looking gun. It's a very fun accessory. You can get him in some fun poses with that. This whole set of figures is very exciting. I'm very amped for the movie, and they have definitely amplified that. They scale together very nice. Everyone's rocking at about 6 foot, and then a little bit more for the helmeted characters, so I do feel like it falls into place correctly. It's just a really, really good looking figure, really good set of figures, and I'm excited. This gets me ready for the movie. So, end of the day, what do I think of this new deluxe Mando and Grogu? I think it's excellent. I love all the new accessories they got going on. They've tweaked the Mando figure for the better in every possible way. I genuinely think this is definitive. Unless Mando gets some kind of like major costume change or finally decides to paint his armor, because that's something I've been waiting on too. I was always kind of like, oh, I wonder what color he's going to go. He's like the only one that hasn't done paint. But, I think this is definitive. I really, really like this. I think this is really good, and it's an upgrade to whatever Mando you might have on your shelf right now. It's really fun having Grogu ride the jetpack like that. That's really cool. And I just don't have anything bad to say. This is really, really fun. I think that this is a great figure to have out in time for the movie, and I think it's worth the price every day. I think you should go pick it up. Unfortunately, this is probably going to end up on some deep discount because there are still some clowns out there that think that Star Wars figures need to be $19 and these deluxe ones should get them $10 back from Hasbro, and that's just not the case. So I appreciate Hasbro putting the extra effort into a figure that's guaranteed to go on clearance because people don't show up for deluxe, but I'm really, really happy with this. I think it's oh so good, and I think we should support Hasbro on this because they have come and made some great changes on this. Don't get hung up on that old Mando you've had on the shelf for 5 years. This one is a solid upgrade for sure. So I'm going to go work on something else now. Thank you so much for checking out my video. May the Force be with each and every one of you, and I will catch you next time here at Hybrid. Peace.